Over the last 12 years, and as some might argue longer than that, this nation has been besieged by out-of-control spending, budget deficit, and questionable policy decisions which have tended to place American civilian and military personnel in harm's way. This arguably out-of-control policy has for a large part originated from the executive branch of our government. The people we delegate authority to as chief executive of these United States are directly in control of some of the most major portions of our country's debt load, as well as the safety of our military. As we approach the 2012 election, it's imperative for you as a voter in the United States to bear in mind the capability of the holder of the office of president to facilitate fiscal healing or continued annual financial burden. Along with that, and more importantly, voters have to understand that the person you elect to be president of the United States will be directly facilitating the well-being or possibility for harm to a large amount of American lives, based solely on his or her defense policies. Bearing that responsibility in mind, and the others I've mentioned, let's take a very quick look at the raw numbers, as well as the defense policy stances of the Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green, and Constitutional Party candidates in the 2012 general election. After these brief glances of budget and debt numbers as well as candidate policies, I think you're going to see that casting a vote for a third party this year for President of the United States is the surest way to ensure fiscal and physical well-being of our nation. So that you're aware, the numbers are as follows for the U.S. debt as well as American lives affected by executive defense spending and general deployment. As far as budget is concerned, a large portion of our annual expenditure and national debt contribution, 24% specifically, comes from defense spending. Currently, our nation is treading water fiscally with an estimated national debt of $1.3 trillion in 2012 and a documented $1.3 trillion debt previously for the year 2011. With our chief executive directly in control of the immediate dispatch and regulation of military and diplomatic personnel, the brunt of the responsibility of $312 billion per year of annual debt, as well as the responsibility for the welfare of over 2 million American lives, rests solely on the shoulders of the President of the United States of America. Having learned these numbers now and the responsibilities that I've enlightened you to, here's a brief overview of the stated defense policies of the primary party candidates for president in 2012, Democrat Barack Obama and Republican Willard Mitt Romney. We have two clear-cut standpoints here. Maintain or increase. Now, our current Commander-in-Chief, Barack Hussein Obama, has policies that continue to generate $240 billion minimum to $350 billion maximum per year defense spending deficits here in the United States. Mr. Obama's policies also perpetuate and contribute to the war on terror, which has cost and is continuing to cost hundreds of billions of dollars each year while exposing American soldiers and civilians to constant threat of life and limb. And an estimated 9,000 and more military casualties are attributed to the current executive defense policies. Now, the contrast we're offered as far as major political party candidates go is in name only. Mr. Romney, the Republican candidate, has proposed policies which are concerned merely by the increase in military involvement to that which we already know. While Mr. Obama remains vague and in some cases completely unspoken about military involvement in certain arenas, Mr. Romney has illustrated and mentioned an imperative to increase American exposure as well as American spending as far as military action is concerned. Observing this maintain or increase military policy, let's now take a look at the third-party candidates for President of the United States, Libertarian Gary Johnson, Green Party candidate Dr. Jill Stein, and Constitution Party candidate Virgil Goode. Now, all of these candidates have one common thread, and that is to bring the troops home and institute a strong, defensible national defense policy here at home with our soldiers right here in our backyard. Gary Johnson perpetuates an ideal based on constitutional-based military involvement, with military involvement overseas as a last-ditch resort. Jill Stein's policy hallmarks are based on directly cutting the Pentagon's budget while using human civil rights as a foundation for diplomatic policy. And Virgil Goode uses a generalized policy which is based on reducing and eliminating expenditures outside of the U.S. in general and generalized cutting of defense spending as a whole. So with financial bankruptcy and ruin on the horizon, soldier and civilian lives on the line, and national sovereignty at stake, we voters have a very clear-cut choice this year in the character morality, and ideals of who we will choose for President of the United States. The major political parties have offered us a choice. A Democratic president will continue to perpetuate the military policies which have had and will continue to force us to endure as a nation hundreds of billions of dollars of debt each year and thousands of American lives. The alternative to that, in the Republican format, is an assured increase in these same policies, dangerous and deadly at best, that we've come to know. But there is a shining light, however. With the inclusion of third-party candidates this year on the ballot, we have a chance to support and elect to the office of president a person with policies that will save our nation money, lives, and sovereignty. So, if you value American soldiers and their right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, as well as all of our unalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, I urge you to vote for a third-party candidate this year for President of the United States. If you believe in a strong nation that is prosperous because it's debt-free, then I also urge you to vote for a third-party candidate for President of the United States. Friends, our votes can bring us home. Our friends can bring us prosperity, bring us security and genuine safety. Let us be the great nation that our forefathers envisioned us being, and use your vote wisely this year. Because, folks, it's all we have. Thanks for your time.